What's up, guys? Welcome back to Fully Spooled. Today we're going to be working on the brakes of the Lexus, doing the Lexus OEM big brake upgrade. So one of the great things about the SC chassis is that it's actually the smaller brother to the LS400, which is a much heavier, bigger car, and therefore had much bigger brakes. So fortunately, the brakes from the LS400 bolt right onto the SC300 and 400. So it's a super cheap upgrade, considering most big brake upgrades like this would be many hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. So the nice thing about this is that I hopped on eBay and picked up some 96 LS400 brake calipers for, I think it was like $140 shipped, which is pretty amazing considering these are 4-piston calipers. They are made of aluminum, which means they're a lot less heavy than these 2-piston steel calipers. So basically, for very, very little money, you have a lightweight, better performing brake caliper. And the other benefit is that the rotors are actually much bigger on the LS400 than the SC300 and 400. You get bigger rotors, which means more surface area. You get more clamping force from the 4-piston calipers, and they're lighter weight. It's like a win-win all around. So to do this upgrade, you need to have rotors, calipers, and brake pads. My plan was to only show this on the driver's side of the car to make it all really easy to understand, but unfortunately I lost some footage last night from my card going corrupt, so I'm going to go ahead and show you on the passenger side the stuff that I lost on the driver's side. I love how the previous owner spray painted the crap out of this. There's like spray paint all over everything, so it's actually a good thing that I'm going to be taking everything out and putting in all new stuff here. Take it off slowly so you don't lose the washers, just like that. If you look at these pads, there is like no life left at all to these pads, which means the previous owner did not take care of this car at all. So a little secret that, well, not really a secret, but something that they've created, those crafty engineers, is they made these little holes in here, so when you have a seized on rotor, like this is very much rusted in place, you take a bolt that matches the correct thread pitch and just pop it in these little holes here, and then just grab the right sized socket and just screw it in, and you'll hear it pop free. Just like that. And do the other side. And now you have your rotor free. And I'm pretty sure this is a dead Black Widow. Oh, that's nasty. It's like a camp for Black Widows on this car. I should just call it the Black Widow. I can get behind that. Alright, so next we have to remove this dust shield because the factory rotors fit just inside this shield, but the larger LS rotors will go actually outside of it. So you can do one of two things. You can cut this down so you don't have this lip anymore, or you can do what I'm going to do and just remove it altogether. The dust shield's only purpose is just to keep dust off of the wheels and everything else, but you know, for a race car, it doesn't matter to me at all. So I'm just going to ditch this shield altogether. I'm going to put gloves on for this. I think it's just 4. Yep. So it's just these 4 little screws that come out, or 4 little bolts that come out, which loosens up the dust shield, and then we have to do some cutting. So to get the dust shield off, the best way to do this is actually just to cut through this thin piece of metal right here, because the only way to get it off without cutting it is to remove this, which involves bearings, and that's just no fun. So I'm just going to cut through this piece of metal right here with my angle grinder, and being careful not to cut too deep because then I'll hit the actual hub itself. Alright, now just this piece is left. I'm just prying it up a little bit so I can make some space between the hub and the actual piece I need to cut, so I don't cut the hub by accident. There, easy as that. It's off. Now before putting the new rotor on, I like using anti-seize like this. I've had this bottle forever. I like using this to kind of coat the hub itself so rust and corrosion and heat doesn't form a bond with the rotor, which makes it easier to get off next time. Let's do a nice liberal coating. So now we just pop the new rotor on just like this. And then use a lug nut to hold it down in place. Just like this. Nice. So on this side we have SC400 caliper and rotor, and then the LS400 caliper and rotor is on that side. You can see how much bigger the 4-piston caliper is on the LS than the SC's 2-piston caliper, and I'll do a comparison really quick with the size of the rotors to see how much bigger the LS one is than the SC. Okay, so here we have the size difference in rotors between the SC400 and the LS400. The SC400 on top is 11.6 inches in diameter, and the LS400 on the bottom is 12.4 inches in diameter, which is a pretty big upgrade for not a lot of money, considering it's, you know, the rotor itself is the same cost pretty much. It's just getting a little bit extra space. Now, if you have an SC300 from 92 to 98, you actually have an even smaller rotor than this at 10.8 inches in diameter. So it's a huge upgrade going to the LS400 rotors from either SC car. Oh, one more thing. While these steel ones are two-piece design with all these bolts holding it on, so you have the bracket is separate from the actual caliper here. The aluminum one on the LS right here is actually one whole full aluminum piece. Also, probably why it's a lot lighter on top of it being aluminum. Overall, a great upgrade for not a lot of money. And now to disassemble our LS400 caliper, we need to pull these pins out and then undo this tensioner to pull the pads out. And here are the factory pads. These are actually in really good shape, which makes me hopeful that the owner of these brakes was good to them and kept them up. I'll just cut this off. Screw it. Don't need it. Thank you for buying EBC brakes. Please read leaflet. There is absolutely no warranty in any EBC brake product used for drifting. Shit. So one really cool thing about EBC is they use this red material on the bottom of each pad, which is designed to help break the pads in on new rotors. So this will help get things broken in quicker and on the track faster. Also, it appears that all the pads are identical, so there's no confusing sides or anything, which is super helpful for me. So because this caliper is one big piece instead of having a separate bracket and caliper, we need to have these slide pins that will go through here to keep the pads through these holes lined up once inside the caliper. Then you have this piece which kind of tensions the whole thing. And just like that, we have both pads in. Our sort of tensioner here is set under each slide pin. The slide pins are greased, the pin is on, so we're good to go. And now for the fun process of making these pads fit around the rotor. Yeah, not even close. Make sure before you put this on the brake rotor that you actually have the pistons all the way compressed, or it won't fit around the rotor itself. I took a C-clamp like this and I put it around here, and then I just made sure that these pistons were correctly pushed all the way in. So now I can rebuild this thing and get it back on the car. Of course, I can't find my 17mm socket, which is the story of my life. Alright, so I'm having some trouble getting this thing to mount just flush, and here's why. The bottom bolt is on and in place, and when I try to pivot the top up, this is what's happening. Let me show you on my other camera, my phone. So if you can look right here, you can see that this part of the caliper right here is hitting the bracket right there. So when I try to close it like this, see where it's hitting? So I need to trim off some metal off the caliper right here, so this will be able to clear that. Alright, let's see if that worked. Ah, perfect. Look at that. I have brakes. So now that we have a caliper installed, the last step is to take the factory brake line, make sure that both washers are in place on either side of the bolt, and then reattach it. Pretty simple stuff. Alright guys, it's the following day, and with the sun out I can see what I was doing last night, and I gotta say, it's looking really good. I love seeing these huge brakes on this car. So now that I can see in the sun, I want to check a few clearance issues that I read about online. Mostly with wheel fitment, because I need to make sure that my wheels will clear the front here, you know, the spokes of the wheels, and then also that the outside of the caliper will clear the wheel as well. And then the other clearance issue I want to make sure that I take care of is the top bolt that holds the caliper on right here has been known, if you are using the SC300 or 400 caliper bolts, which I'm using right now, that they will actually touch the back side of this rotor. So let's check to make sure that that's not touching. The bolt is tightened all the way down, and it's not actually hitting my rotor at all. So, I mean, it is a tiny, tiny bit of clearance there, but it's not touching. What I might do, just in case, is file it down just a tiny little bit. But otherwise, that seems to be all right. So I'm not quite sure why people were saying that the SC400 mounting bolts will touch the backside of the rotor when it's totally fine. I mean, right now it's spinning totally freely with no issues. So I'll think about trimming down that bolt, but in the meantime, I want to get my wheel on here and see if that will have any issues scraping against the caliper. First, I want to see if the stock wheels will fit. I have a feeling this is not going to happen, but I just want to give it a shot because I have the stock wheel here. That would be a huge no. As you can see, the spoke is actually making contact with the front side of the caliper right there. So the stock wheels will not fit as expected with these brakes. Fortunately for me, I'm using these wheels, and these are Evo 8 wheels from Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution, and these are 17 by 8 inch wheels with a 45 offset, and these were designed to clear 12.6 inch rotors on 4-piston Brembo calipers, and what we have here are 12.4 inch rotors on 4-piston calipers, so hopefully these will fit. I'm hoping. And they weigh so much less than the stockers. Ah, perfect. Perfect. Oh, that's great. Alright guys, so they fit perfectly. I'm really happy about this. So as you can see here, there is plenty of space for my fingers to go in between the spokes of the wheel and the caliper, and there's tons of space up here too. It fits perfectly. And if you spin it, nice and smooth. No dragging or anything. Alright, so now that these are installed, I want to go over quickly why I chose the parts I did for this upgrade. The calipers were off an LS400, as I already mentioned. It's amazing having an OEM available upgrade like this because everything just bolts right on with some minor adjustments, but these were 140 shipped off of eBay. An annoying thing when buying things off eBay, you hope you get what you are paying for. These are actually in really good shape. Everything checks out except the clip that holds the slide pins in on the driver's side caliper is here, but the passenger side caliper did not come with that. So I went ahead and ordered new slide pins and new clips for both sides. So that will go on at some point whenever they get here. Now, if you're planning on doing the same upgrade, you want to look for 95 to 2000 LS400 brake calipers. Make sure they look just like this, and they'll say Sumitomo on the inside. One pretty big downside to using brakes from a luxury sedan is that the aftermarket selection for pads and rotors are not going to be very good, like a sports car would be. So if you want a really huge selection on the types of brake components you can use, you might want to look into getting aftermarket brakes, which are a lot more expensive, or Supra turbo brakes, which are also pretty expensive. But fortunately, EBC makes really good pads for these brakes. You can get, I got the yellow stuff pads right here. They're the most aggressive pads they make for this car. And as far as track use goes, they're perfect for what I'll be doing. They have high resistance to fade, and they're just super, super reliable pads. Very good reviews. As for the rotors, I went with just auto parts store off-the-shelf blanks, and there's a couple reasons for this. Namely, it's the cheapest, most economical way to get out on the track. It's $50 per rotor, and I see rotors as wear items, as like just general maintenance items on a race car. Secondly, cross-drilled or slotted rotors at this price point are going to be very cheaply made and will really hurt you more than anything else, because as soon as you start taking material out of here for either drilling or slotting, you're removing the surface area from the actual brake surface, which makes you have less surface area for the rotor to pad contact. And lastly, modern disc brakes with modern pad material don't generate as much gas as it used to when they were first created. And the entire point of having slots or holes drilled in the rotors was to let the gas between the rotor and the pad escape. But with modern technology being what it is, less gas is being generated, so less gas has to escape. So these days, a blank is just about as good as a cross-drilled or slotted rotor. Well, I will say cross-drilled looks pretty badass. Honestly, how cool is this? I'm really happy this worked out the way it did. Everything looks to be working perfectly, which is all I could ask for. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more Fully Spooled. I have a lot more coming up. The engine and transmission have to go in next episode. Have to. That's what I'm hoping for. So stay tuned for that. Please do like and subscribe, and check out my social media links at the end of the video. Thanks.